I'm Derri, and I've read it before. Now, The Witches and Wyrd Sisters. Wyrd Sisters is book 6 of the Discworld books. And if you've been here since the beginning, you know that Discworld doesn't really find its feet until books sort of 8 through 10. So this is the second Witches book before that happens. But this is closer to what the Witches truly become. Wyrd Sisters is Terry Pratchett wallowing in Shakespeare. And you don't need to have a huge knowledge of Shakespeare to get a lot out of it. If you have read Shakespeare, if you have watched Shakespeare, if you have much knowledge at all of Shakespeare, you're going to get a vast amount out of this book. And Shakespeare isn't the only set of references. There are all sorts. A lot of fairy tale, a lot of storytelling myths, tropes. I knew it. A lot of story tropes are in the Witches books, and this is no exception. And the story is around the succession of kingship to Lancre. We open in the quintessential Macbeth scene of the three witches around a cauldron on the sort of heath, and it's pretty on the nose. This is the opening scene from Macbeth, but it goes a little, it diverges fairly quickly. In the castle, the king has just been murdered by his cousin. Things happen. There's a jester, the court fool, who is far smarter than anybody gives him credit for, but his job is working for the new king, this cousin of the old king, and he points out that one of the ways you can control a populace is through controlling the story. And so he arranges to be arranged a play to be made about the dastardly previous king and the far superior new king who has taken his place. This is all going on while the witches aren't very happy about this new king, but don't want to get involved, because once you use magic to get involved with politics, you've got to stay in politics, and then it's all about the magic, and it's far too much pressure, and then they're not doing what they should be doing, and it all becomes a thing. So the witches are being very hands-off. Well, Magrat and the fool have a connection, and it's quite a dear connection. They're both completely awkward and completely hopeless, and it's possibly the most charming little courtship that you will ever see. And she doesn't like that he's going to leave Lancre and go to commission a play to be written to make the new king look good. Things are going on. Not least among them is the fact that the old king is a ghost, and he decides that he needs to get involved because his son has been stolen. The actual heir to the throne is out there somewhere, and he needs help to get his son on the throne. And he lays a trap to encourage one of the witches to come to the castle so that he can communicate with somebody. And through all of this, we have the very Macbeth story. We have the very Macbeth story happening in the castle with the old king's cousin Felmet and his wife. She is an appalling woman who I don't like. Not because she's badly written, because she isn't. She's just not a very nice person. We have an heir to the throne. We have an existing usurper of the throne. And we have someone who looks remarkably like the heir of the throne. And the witches have to figure this out in a way that isn't magic, because they can't rule this kingdom themselves. The kingdom shouldn't be run by magic. It needs a king. And here's the funny part. The kingdom itself has become semi-sentient. This is a very magical part of the disc by nature of geography. Lots of very magical people come from this area of the disc, and there's a lot of belief in magic and what it can do in this area of the disc. And so the kingdom itself is not happy. That plays out. And the nature of belief on the disc means that when these travelling players, these actors that perform shows, make their way through Lancre, it properly concerns Granny Weatherwax, because on the disc, belief has weight, it has meaning, it has power. And so people willingly believing in these make-believe stories considerably alters the reality around them. So this concerns Granny. She doesn't trust theatre. She doesn't trust acting. She finds the whole thing disturbing because this is non-magical people creating a magical circumstance. And she's not happy about this at all. Nanny thinks it's fantastic. She thinks it's marvellous. And the two of them together watching a play that these performers put on is one of the funniest scenes in all of Discworld. This is one of Terri's early attempts at multiple threads, and it works quite well. He does tidy it all up. It does wander for a bit in the middle. I think Derri was quite enjoying himself with the plays on Wyrd. There are a lot of puns in Wyrd Sisters. There are a lot of word games being played in Wyrd Sisters. And that, for me, kind of adds to the fun of it. You can feel that Derri is having fun writing this story. Who else is in the book? We've got Granny Weatherwax, the head witch witches would have if Granny let them have a. I'll start that again. Granny Weatherwax, the head witch that witches would have if Granny would let them have a head witch. Yeah. There is Nanny, who, well, she's just delightful. I think she's marvellous. And Magrat, who gets a little bit of courting this time through, which is very sweet and very lovely. She also manages to perform some quite substantial magic, which is impressive, and has even Granny kind of going, yeah, that was pretty good. Nothing to be scoffed at. So you've got your witches. You have Grebo, and I love Grebo. Grebo is Grebo. And he is essential to the previous King Verence's plan to interact with a witch. We have King Verence, who dies in his opening scene. So most of his communication is as a ghost, and he's a very hearty ghost, and he has some unique views on ghostship. So he's quite fun to read. We have the Fool, a very sort of sad, droopy little man who is sweet on Magrat, which is really charming, and he's lovely. We have the Duke and Duchess, Thelmut, and his wife. I can't think of her name. He is a very strange man. He has some issues. He definitely has some issues. And I always see her with a no-nonsense attitude and a bit frightening. If you're old enough, think Norma Batty from Last of the Summer Wine. She's sort of quite grim in her countenance, and she takes no nonsense, the Duchess. She's something. And then we get the players. I've spoken about the fact that the theatre comes to town, and the players are made up of quite a grand, expansive gentleman, Vitola. It is Vitola and his players, his wife, the actors. We get some of the best examples of how thin the fabric of reality is around the disc through, well, who writes plays for this travelling theatre company. He dreams of what we know to be movies, but he dreams of these comedic moments. And for us as the reader, we know he's dreaming about the Marx Brothers. We know he's dreaming about Charlie Chaplin. We know he's dreaming about Laurel and Hardy. He doesn't. He's just getting these random flashes of comedy that he knows are really funny, but he can't seem to write down in a way that translates that humour. So all the way through the book, there are all sorts of nods to movies and plays and music, because he just keeps picking up these bits of reality. These inspiration particles just keep hitting, well, all the time. It's amazing he hasn't gone insane. And Tom John. Tom John is blessed with all of the things that he needs to be the perfect actor. And he's quite happy to be one of the best actors. His father is trying to raise money to build a theatre in the city. That's something that will encapsulate everything the disc is. So we get another little on the nose moment. There is my nose. There is another on the nose moment where we have the theatre being built, and the theatre is called the Disc, because the disc is a disc, not a globe. With all of that scrambled together, that's Wyrd Sisters. Like, subscribe, and, well, I'm going to love you and leave you. I'll catch you next time.